am sometimes happy when a bad entertainment product fails because it's a win for consumers. Now, typically, I reserve this joy for when a company attempts to sell a low-value, low-effort, minimum viable product that they believe will sell on name recognition alone. They insult the customer by not even trying, and in most cases, blame them, telling them to like something they don't. In those cases, when I hear the joyous thunderclap of millions of wallets snapping shut in protest, when I see sales and viewer count charts that could be mistaken for a graph of Andrew Tate's interest in girls as they progress past 16, then I make some popcorn, watching the train wreck with glee, allowing the embers of said terrible product to warm the cockles of my heart in what the Germans like to call schadenfreude.
You think this is funny?
Well, Terry, it sure as shit ain't sad.
Such was the case recently with two pieces of would-be entertainment that only really deserve that term if we also start applying it to sloth races and Berkeley University slam poetry nights. Both are Star Wars properties. A show, The Acolyte, and a game, Outlaws, and a last-minute edition of a game, Concord. Shall I compare them to a latrine pit, both in their overall smell and the urgency with which we should bury them and move on? But before we do, let's have a laugh at these bad products getting exactly what they deserve. And hopefully you agree, I deserve to have my like button pressed. No, I'm sorry. No, I heard it. I hear it. No. A few months ago, Ubisoft announced a couple of games that look terrible. One was Assassin's Creed Shadows, which will see the franchise finally going to Japan, and is arriving to the party about as late as the Borderlands movie, and seems like it was banking on the controversy of a black samurai to get attention. They even gave him a cool hip-hop track when he fights.
Greed cannot rule this village. Not while I have breath in my lungs and a blade in my hand. I said kill him!
That's racist.
Many aspects of that announcement have been criticized, but we'll find out in November whether any attention was paid to actual gameplay, or if shock tactics were all that was supposed to move this title. But we don't have to wait for confirmation that the quadruple A game, Star Wars Outlaws, is in fact terrible. And I report to you with a smile that sales are well below expectation. Well, below corporate expectation. I mean, I knew it was going to flop. For those of us with the superpower, or quirk if you like, of pattern recognition, it was quite easy to tell that this was going to be worth about $20, if it would be worth playing at all. But Ubisoft had other plans. See, they're doing a lovely new tiered pricing system, where the base version of the game, the Broke Boy version, doesn't have all the content, and you have to sit in the penalty box for 3 days. You thought $70 was going to get you a whole game? I'm sorry, that's just the cover charge. $110 lets you play it at launch, or what they tried to gaslight as early access, plus the pieces of the game they carved out so they could sell them back to you. That would be an extra mission for Jabba the Hutt, and the planned DLC that also should have been in the game, but they held it back to create the illusion of value. Finally, they had a $130 version that also came with some digital clothing. Or you could just sign up for Ubisoft Plus and you'd get all that useless crap for a paltry $18 a month and hopefully forget to cancel. Yeah, that's the game here. See, the other prices are a manipulation tactic to funnel you into a subscription service that seems to be a better value. It's called price anchoring. But beyond the pricing tactics, the announcement came with no gameplay for the video game that they wanted you to pre-order. It did have a cinematic trailer, and even that looked like they accidentally used footage from a Star Wars game from 10 years ago. Plus, the company has a long track record of making bloated, boring games. Now, I was going to play it just to be sure, but I realize that's not even necessary. And anyone who tells you that you have to try everything before you can say that it looks bad is a moron. Besides, I'm already enjoying both a replay of Dark Souls 2, which I'm happy to report is better on the second time. Here's my character, Theodore Roosevelt. I'm never taking this armor off. Look at his little coffee cup. Me and 2 million other people are also playing Black Myth Wukong, which is very good thus far, with a couple critiques, but I'm also not done with Chapter 1, so take that with a grain of salt. But when Outlaws dropped, I was also suffering through the first 3 episodes of Rings of Power Season 2, and I'm only gonna endure one piece of crap at a time.
I'm not strong enough.
I did, however, keep tabs on the previews that Ubi was putting out, and now the final reviews. It doesn't even feel good to be as right as I am about this game, and have been since the day it was announced. To say that I feel good about being right would imply some kind of relief, or possibly that I could have been wrong, and betting against this game was like betting on a coin toss where you win if the coin comes back down. Of course it's bad. It always was. Outlaws sounds like typical Ubisoft with zero attempt to improve it. It actually sounds like a Ubisoft game from a decade ago, but nevertheless, a regular Ubi game, with a Star Wars skin this time. We all have our favorite genre, so there might be some folks who enjoy the comfort food of a familiar game. This game is the chicken strips of video games for those people who enjoy the Ubisoft open world cluttered UI experience. I get it. Some people order them everywhere, but you don't pay a premium for chicken tendies. The very best that can be said about this game is that it is painfully average. It is a minimum viable product. Yet even now, this video will garner comments telling me, oh come on, it's not that bad, as though that is some kind of compliment. I'm getting the same thing on Rings of Power Season 2. This game is a 4, but people will tell you to be more generous and give it a 5. Oh, well, in that case, I'll rush right out and pay full price. Here's a small clip that I saw of Asmongold playing it. I'll link it. It's only 2 minutes long, but you really should watch the entire thing. The main character is in a base of some sort, but this patch of sea oats is growing inside of it for reasons. The enemy AI is hilariously bad, and no one can find or hit the character when she is super hidden in this bush indoors. There are numerous complaints about the fact that the character can't carry enemy weapons up a ladder, or while sliding, or while doing anything, really. This game features a reputation system for the various gangs you have to deal with, but has about as much impact as a full-force punch from a toddler. Then there was the gameplay footage that the company themselves put out that had enemies standing around, not even trying to hit you. Gunplay that looked terrible. The gameplay mechanics felt incongruent, painting you as a smuggling scoundrel who only has a pistol, so you better use your wits. But then also as a one-man army, blowing up whole bases, taking out 2 or 3 dozen enemies with that pistol. The textures themselves appear to be straight from a PS3 title, and let's not forget about the bug montages. This game has so many bugs. Even Todd Howard is looking at this game like, wow, these clipping issues are pretty bad. But beyond the basic gameplay, with its horrible enemy AI, its insta-fail stealth missions, its overused lockpick mechanic, its terrible speeder controls and combat, its bad shooting mechanics, aside from those things, the company still remains as scummy as ever, and console players who paid extra to get this game early actually got the beta version, full of bugs. One of those bugs needed a patch that required them to start the game over completely. They paid at least $40 extra for the early version, spent hours playing that buggy inferior version, then downloaded a patch that reset their progress back to the start. Not to fear though, Ubisoft made good on it by giving them 100 units to the Ubisoft Rewards store, which can be redeemed for in-game items, or 20% off a future purchase. That is also a scam, by the way, designed to get a foot in your door and use the Ubisoft store for your next purchase, where you will then get a little more of these units. As all digital currencies are designed to, this makes you feel like you should buy more because you're already more than halfway to your next 20% off coupon. This process of always leaving you with a tiny bit of currency is called breakage. It's exactly the same as Old Navy or Kohl's Cash. The bloated games in the subscription service make you feel like you should keep playing them because you already invested time. Why not finish it? And then that results in another month of the subscription. That's the sunk cost fallacy they bank on. Guys, the psychological manipulation of the games industry right now is insane. But as I said, this title is not selling well, and if I had a tail, I'd be wagging it, because I get excited when a company like this tries to manipulate their audience and give them a terrible product, and it backfires. The company stock just hit a 10-year low, reflecting their trend of laziness. This is an absolute win for gamers and consumers in general. More people need to view themselves as businesses and treat their own time and money as capital. And viewed that way, this game is a terrible investment, and it is good that fewer people are making it. In other Star Wars news, Sam's Club is selling this Lego set with an X-Wing and a TIE Fighter, and you can take the wings off and you can I don't know why you would want to do that, but you can. As soon as I build these, they're going to go on the shelves behind me.
I'm so happy.
In still other Star Wars news, you've probably heard by now that The Acolyte was cancelled, or not renewed if you're coping especially hard. Once again, I bring you this news with a grin that, unlike most book characters, does reach my eyes. A massive company ignored what their customers wanted and thought the almighty brand was powerful enough to make them show up to the slop trough no matter how bad the product.
Don't think so, Charlie. Even the pigs won't eat it.
I am brimming with glee to tell you that the audience grew some self-respect and standards and refused that trash. Here to explain why it was canceled, the show's star Amandla Stenberg reporting. Amandla.
For those who aren't aware, there has been a rampage of vitriol that we have faced since the show was even announced, when it was still just a concept and when no one had even seen it. And that's when we started experiencing a rampage of, I would say, hyper-conservative bigotry and vitriol, prejudice, hatred, and hateful language towards us. I just want to let those people know out there who supported us in that way and supported us vocally despite and in the face of all of the vitriol that we received and the targeted attack, I would say, we received by the alt-right.
Not only did she clearly learn the word vitriol the day before that video was made, but Amandla has also gone to the Children's School for Arguing, where you paint your opponents with a broad brush instead of hearing what they actually say. Before we knew anything about this show, we knew this. This article was one of the first things anyone saw about it. Before casting was done, before the script was written, we're talking bare bones early stages. The showrunner Leslie Headland said that her queerness will seep into the script. It can't be helped. When the actors appeared at the big convention a year before the show came out, we got immortal sound bites like this.
My character, you know, she's a powerful leader. She's a powerful leader. Yes. In a very woman-centered world, which I was very excited to kind of be in that, because I feel like Star Wars is very like patriarchal, so it was kind of cool to have like this sort of woman-centered figure.
Yeah, they praised the show's diversity, said Star Wars has always been very patriarchal, said it's never been safe for women and people of color before, and they also displayed a complete lack of understanding of morality.
I mean, the best parts about Star Wars is there is no good or evil. Depends on what side you're standing on, truly.
Nope. Wrong.
The only thing anyone ever said about the actual show at hand was that it was going to explore the dark side, give us a view into the Sith way of thinking, which does sound really cool, and it didn't do that. So Disney has developed a track record of poor quality Star Wars shows and movies that rely more on key jangling than storytelling, and this new show was announced and the actors and writers involved couldn't stop talking about the superficial qualities the show would boast. The audience said, "We want some Star Wars," and the folks making it said, "Look, it's got diversity." There was a complete disconnect between what the audience wanted and what the show was serving. So, no one showed up to watch. No one showed up to watch the most expensive Star Wars show ever made, so the company that funds it didn't want to fund any more of it. And I am baffled at how anyone is confused by this. Naturally, when it did fail, the usual suspects were blamed: incels, racists, phobes. And as usual, it revealed the ego behind the scenes because they think it's your job to tune in, not their job to entice you. And honestly, even I fall victim to playing along with their little narrative. I'm here saying that people refused to watch this show or buy that game, as though we should assume anyone was going to by default. You and I didn't buy or watch lots of things today, for many reasons. Why do we describe it as we rejected that thing, as though it was a given that we should accept, and now we're breaking the mold? It's that subtle language that gets you. Even the istophobe excuses don't make any sense. If somebody genuinely believed that the Star Wars audience really was a racist mob of misogynistic homophobes, but they go ahead and make a show anyway that will send that army of straw men over the edge, frothing with rage, then who's the dumb one, really? These folks cry online about the whole audience having a nut allergy, but they made peanut brittle anyway. That's not a really good analogy, because peanut brittle is delicious. This show is not peanut brittle. Full audience having a nut allergy, but then they brought pecan pie, which is disgusting. I will not hear otherwise. The largest Star Wars YouTuber on this platform, Star Wars Theory, has been very critical of the show and is repeating again and again and again, make your logical arguments on why the show is bad. Please don't stoop to insults and identity politics. So I took that advice. It was a terrible show from a writing standpoint, and if you've got 2.5 hours to spare, you can hear me talk all about it. I'll link it below, or it'll be in a box right here at the end of the video. Not once during that video does Amanda's race come up, or Manny's. The only mention of race is a joke about Sol's name seeming like a race joke because he's Korean, and there is 1 minute where I wonder how the lesbian showrunner Leslie Headland managed such an own goal, making lesbians and fathers' homes look so terrible. Everything else, though, is about the plot, character, dialogue, visuals, and I didn't even dig that deep. If you're wondering if the show could possibly be that bad, or if it's just a victim of the culture war, I filled up 2.5 hours dissecting its technical components, and I left a lot out that could have gone in. They made a poor product, and that product failed.
Don't be shocked. You're shocked? You're shocked?
But now we have sudden virtue signals about how amazing the show was and how unfair it is to cancel it. Acolyte's sudden defenders feel very much like the sudden Kamala Harris fans who apparently didn't know who she was back in the cold winter of 2019 when she couldn't find 2 donors to rub together for warmth and didn't even make it to the first primary. Also, that petition to renew the show, that's fake. My channel email address was used for one of the submissions. I got this thank you from change.org for signing the petition to renew The Acolyte, which was quite a surprise to me. For those of you that think change.org means anything, they don't even verify the emails that are used to sign these petitions. Last bit of good news, the game Concord is being completely shut down after being live for 2 whole weeks. The day this video comes out, it will be turning its servers off, which is amazing. It is reported to have sold maybe 25,000 copies, and on its launch day, it had its highest number of concurrent players, peaking at 697. There's no 1,000 after that. It was just 700 people. For comparison, a game people were actually looking forward to, Black Myth Wukong, had over 2 million players that week. They worked to deliver a solid action RPG that would appeal to fans of titles such as God of War and Dark Souls. They didn't mention anything else. They just said, we heard you like these games, and we made a high-quality product to suit your tastes. Concord, on the other hand, lazily tried to copy existing hero shooters without innovating at all, and charging for it where other games in the genre are free. They included character models that are not appealing, and the gameplay was sluggish and not enjoyable. After its open beta in the summer, which saw the peak player count cut in half from Thursday to Sunday, falling from 2,400 to 1,100, it was widely panned as being unfinished and not worth playing, even if it were free. Then it launched for $40 and failed. Sony bought the studio working on it, obviously thinking they could slap yet another live service game onto the market and rake in the cash. No attempt was made to serve the players, so they passed, and I'm ecstatic. I appreciate that you spent some of your time here with me, and I'm excited to see more and more of you being conscious about where you spend your time and your money. Make these companies work for you, not the other way around. If you are interested to hear a critique of the atrocity that was The Acolyte, that shockingly doesn't contain the word woke even once because it doesn't need to, you can click this box right here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.